What's happening?
What's happening?
It's my girl, Faye Hagan. I ain't supposed to be touching Faye, but, anyway, Faye Hagan. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good.
Yeah, it's funny, when I got ready to want to get together with you and talk, I think about how far back we go. We got a history, right?
Yeah. We old now.
Yeah, we old now, man, 40s, and we met like what, 10th grade?
10th grade.
Sophomore year?
Sophomore year. Yep.
Yeah.
I had a jerry curl. You had a flat top.
You had to bring
overalls
up
and silk shirts on.
Yeah, we actually went to Sadie Hawkins together with that outfit on. With the,
we was cute though.
We was geared up. We was geared up with the the overalls. Wow. Yeah. And they was like stonewash.
Stonewash.
Yeah.
It was.
That's one of the design and the haircuts too. I had a little design or something like that.
So you had like a kid and play.
Something along them lines. Yeah. We won't bring no pictures out.
Yeah, no, I got that picture though.
Oh gosh. We're not gonna show nobody. But anyway, we got a history. Got to know your family. You got to know my family. And you were superstar ball player in high school, matter of fact, if I remember right.
Yeah,
right?
You're correct.
Yeah, superstar. Yeah. Tell us a little bit.
So, gosh, I started playing ball in 8th grade. Okay. And it was during the time where I remember my mom saying she wasn't going to come to any of the games until we could hit the rim because we were just throwing the ball everywhere. So 8th grade was pretty hard. Freshman year, I really got serious and like my talent started becoming better. So I started getting better and I started going to back then I think they were called blue chip camps. And then travel. I played a lot of travel ball because at Glenn we didn't have an opportunity for colleges to come out and see us.
At Glenn?
Yeah, at John Glenn.
John Glenn is high school.
Yeah. So we didn't have a lot of colleges coming out, so we were just starting to become better. So I decided to, my mom put me in a lot of travel ball, which was a blessing because I was able to be seen by lots of colleges. So, and my goal was to get a full ride to scholarship because I knew
that
we
early,
couldn't afford. Yeah, we couldn't afford to. My goal was to go to college, and there was no women's pro. So, and I knew we couldn't afford college, and I wanted to go. So, basketball was going to be my ticket, and it was my ticket.
So was John Glenn High School the obvious, choice because you were in the area? Or?
Well, when we first moved, so I was born in South Carolina. In 1986, my mother moved myself and my brother Tony to California. The older two were still in South Carolina, so they were old enough to be on their own, but the two younger ones, myself and my brother, we came out here. And so as the baby of the family, I spent a lot of time in extracurricular activities at school. So basketball was one of them, student leadership was one of them, and I ended up at Glenn because we moved back to Norwalk. And so when we went there, and when we came back to Norwalk, my mother, just really poured into me, and it was a struggle because she was a single mom and these things were expensive, so one of my coaches helped send me to camp and, people just poured into my life so that I was able to go to these things and get extra training.
Wow. Did you guys, were you guys in the church at the time when you got here from South Carolina?
So when we first moved here, I would go to church on a bus. My mother didn't go. So I was born in the Bible Belt. So of course I went to church every single Sunday, no matter what it was. My grandmother always took us. But when we came to California.
What's the Bible Belt?
The Bible Belt, South Carolina.
I got
so
you.
Right near Clemson University is where I was born and raised up until 1986. So the Bible Belt is anything back south, you're going to be in church all day Sunday. And that's how I was raised. And so when we got to California, they didn't have churches on every corner. So there was a bus that used to come by our house, and I would go get on the bus with my cousin, and we would go to church. And but after a while, that went away. Okay. But the seed was always planted. I always knew God. Didn't have a relationship with him now that I look back on it, but I always knew God.
Well, so you jump ahead, you go to high school, you play very well, get a lot of accolades, obviously.
Yeah.
Everything, right? Remember them days. And then here comes college. What happens then?
So college was great. I started off at Cal State Fullerton. Okay. And then
scholarship,
4-year scholarship. And I decided to leave Cal State Fullerton and went to Cal State Dominguez. I just wasn't getting playing time, and it was affecting my grades. And it was a hard
And
decision.
you used to be in what? I'm what, 30, 28, 30 a game?
Yeah, I'm used to shooting.
Yeah,
And
scoring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you're told not to, it's hard because of course I was prideful. I was like, do you know who I am? You know? And but that I got humbled very quickly when I got to Fullerton. It wasn't that I wasn't a good player, I just wasn't what they were looking for. So I left because the coach that was actually coaching me there wasn't the coach that recruited me. And that was my concern after I had signed, that coach became the AD. And she was no longer the coach. So I didn't have that relationship. And so I left there, gave up my full ride, went to Cal State Dominguez and was coached under Coach Van Gerard. And I started. And I went from Division I to Division II so that I could still play my sophomore year because I had already played one game in D1. You do that, your whole year is gone. And I wanted to play. That was I didn't care if it was D1 or D2, I wanted to play. And so I got back, my grades back in line. I was on the dean's list, and then I felt comfortable. I was playing, my grades are good, still no pro at this time. So I know that I had to have a career after this, which was the most important thing, making sure that I graduated. In high school, I had a boyfriend, and my very first serious boyfriend, and I met him while in my junior year in high school. And so even when I was in college, he was still my boyfriend for quite some time.
So you guys dated for?
About 5 years before we broke up. About 5
First
years.
real boyfriend.
First real boyfriend.
Got it. Okay. And then, we'll talk about how that was to be able to have a boyfriend. You get in a serious relationship, and being that after you live a little while, you start understanding principles and certain things that happen in life or occur, and things happen for a purpose or reason. It's interesting because you talk to a lot of young ladies or girls who go into relationships but didn't really have a real strong male figure in their life prior to getting into a relationship with a guy. Can you talk about what effect you think that had on you? Because you didn't talk about father being present.
So my dad wasn't present. He was in the Air Force, and he was in and out of my life consistently. He was my hero, though, even though he wasn't present. I had this figment of my imagination of who this man was. And I would see him like every few years when he would come into town, if then. And as I've gotten older, we have a relationship. But during my formative years, we had nothing. And I just had my hopes and my dreams of what my dad was like. And so as I gotten older and I started dating guys, I didn't know how I should be treated as a female or what I should be looking for because I didn't have that example. My mother was a very strong woman. I knew what I wasn't going to take, but I didn't know what I should be expecting from males. So my boyfriend, when we met, I was 17. And I think he told me he was around 22. So, of course, I'm thinking I'm grown. I'm like, I'm going to be 18 in a year. This is good, right? So we started dating, and I felt hell over heels for him. Like, I'm 17. Of course, I'm thinking I'm in love. 2 years into the relationship, we just happened to be at a Chinese restaurant, and we're looking at the menu, and I'm like, oh, here's you're a rabbit, and I'm this. And I guess that was the time he decided to divulge that, no, I'm not actually that. I'm actually this because I lied about my age. At that time, I found out he was 11 years older than me from the day we met.
Oh, wow.
And I found out that he had a whole wife at home and a stepdaughter. He never lied about his son. I always knew he had a son. I always knew he had like a 3-year-old son. But he did not tell me about his family.
This was going on the entire time, from the very beginning. Oh, wow.
And I'm 17, so I don't know what cues to look for at the time, but he worked nights, so we talked a lot when he was at work, so that made sense, right? I saw him, I could never, when I did call him, this is when pagers were in, right, and the big cell phones, so I would page him, and I would get a call back maybe hours or so later, I always had to see him on his time schedule, not mine. I was an outgoing kid, I had lots of friends, and my mother even started saying, like, you're isolating your life around this guy, everything he wants, and you're kind of segregating yourself from your friends. And I started to believe all the things that he was speaking into my life. And he was never physically abusive, but the mental and the emotional was very hard, especially for someone that was very outgoing.
And I always remember you were a very affectionate person, loving person.
Yeah.
Very physically affectionate, like you love people, you know, and that is tough. And like you said, you're from South Carolina. Most people from the, you know, from the outside of California, you're not superficial. You're really genuine. You got that genuine, loving personality. So that's pretty interesting. Do you feel like, that had your father been present, if you don't mind me asking, that he would have saw warning signs before you did?
I think had my dad been present, he wouldn't have been present in my life, because he would have given me an example of what a real man was. But because he didn't do that. And when men are absent, and when women allow men not to be in their children's life over petty stuff, even whether if it's a boy or a girl, you're taking something away from that child that they deserve. Every kid needs a man. I always said my mother was my father. And she was, because she had to play the role of both parents. But as I got older and I started sharing my story, like how it affected me, to my mom, because she had no control over what my dad did. She never talked bad about my father. She allowed me to put him on the pedestal. I even said my dad flew planes in the Air Force. She did correct me. She said, no, he kills bugs. He don't fly planes. She didn't let me lie about him, but she also never spoke bad about him. She never said one bad thing about this man. And she knew that I loved my dad. And I still love my dad to this day. But because of that relationship, yeah, he's still alive. But because of that foundation never being there on how to know what to look for, like going on daddy-daughter dates or him taking me out on my own personal dates with him, like I didn't know what to expect from him. So whatever this man gave me was an example. And him being 11 years older than me, you can imagine that at some point when he said things to me, I figured like, oh, this is what I should be doing. This is the right thing. So he was like a father figure too. So of course, not only was he my boyfriend, but I looked to him for like guidance.